Salam, Namaste, and good day to you all. Welcome to our webinar on Dictionary of Urdu Poetry for Shaayari Lovers. From Atlanta, Georgia, I am your host, Amit Arora. I'm a fan of Shaayari and father of Ghazal. Well, that was a joke, but in a sense. But my daughter's name is Ghazal Arora. A graduate of 1984 batch, I'm a part of the leadership team at PANIIT USA. I'm a co-founder of the PANIIT Book Club, which is also hosting this event. My bio, as well as the bios of other speakers, will be projected on the screen. In the interest of time, I will only make brief introduction and request you to refer to our banners and website for more details on our distinguished speakers. This program is a collaboration between PANIIT USA and Wheels Global. PANIIT USA is the alumni wing for all IITs in USA. It has two major goals. The first is to provide service to our alums, such as this event and many other events such as webinars, interactive workshop, bridge clubs, and who can forget our mega event in IIT 2020, where Prime Minister Modi spoke live. The second is to enhance the PANIIT brand with programs such as scholarships and high school counseling. During the last few years, we have made giant strides on both accounts. Wheels Global. Wheels is an initiative of PANIIT USA and was started in 2006 and formally incorporated as a 501c3 in the US and also as a Section 8 company in India. Their mission is simple: to improve the lives of rural India through technology-enabled solutions. Where solutions do not exist, we engage our IITs and other similar institutions for further innovation towards self-sustainable and scalable solutions. To achieve our mission, we work with proven on-the-ground NGOs and other partners such as Mission Samriddhi, Magan Sangrahalaya, Win Foundation, CII, IEEE-Integrated Smart Village, and SOBUS. Our projects cover 6 areas, and as the name suggests, W stands for water, H stands for health, E stands for education, the second E stands for energy, L stands for livelihood, and S stands for sustainability. Some examples of our exciting projects, each with a scaling ramp to millions of people. Spring rejuvenation in Himachal Pradesh, rural telemedicine centers providing quality and affordable care, newborn and mother nutritional health, Safe Farmers Initiative, sanitary pads for rural girls and women, spoken tutorials to bring IT skills to the masses, Smart Village in Aravali, and social business entrepreneurship in Pandharpur. A brief introduction to Wheels activities was presented before the start of this event and will also run at the conclusion. Wheels is a volunteer organization and depends on the generosity of many of its donors and share our vision of impacting 20% of India's rural and semi-urban population by 2030. You can get additional information at our website, www.wheels, which is wheelsglobal.org. From 11th to 14th November of this year, Wheels, together with PANIIT, Stanford University, and Banaras Hindu University, will be hosting the 7th annual Ideal Village Conference in Banaras. Some of the confirmed speakers include Sri Ravi Shankar, Swami Gaurang Prasad, Vice Chancellor Sudhir Jain, Mr. Arjun Malhotra, Dr. Sunny Anand of Stanford, and many others. PM Narendra Modi and Chief Minister Adityanath Yogi are also invited to address the conference. Today's event is part of our series of thought leadership event, where prominent persons like our speaker today share their unique and inspiring perspectives on a variety of subjects. Today, our topic is Urdu poetry, or as they call it, Shaayari. It has been popular in India for centuries, both entertaining and cleverly intriguing. We have conducted over 22 such events during the last 2 years, and you can find them all at our website. A quick disclaimer: all views expressed here by our speakers in this webinar are their own and do not reflect nor are endorsed by Wheels Global or PANIIT USA. Now, some housekeeping rules. All attendees are mute through our webinar. You may ask questions to the speakers by entering them into the QA box. If you look down, there's a QA box. If you need any help, you can chat with one of us by raising your hand and typing your request in the chat box. A recording of this event will be available at our website, YouTube, and Facebook. Questions from the audience will be curated initially and channeled to the speakers through me or other curators. At the end, we will open the webinar to all audience, where you can share our favorite shares or nazms. If you like the share and want to appreciate it, and as we call in Urdu, do hosla afzai for the narrator in Urdu, use the clap or thumbs up emojis. Let me start this program by reciting my favorite nazm. This is by Sahil Ludhianvi. He wrote in 1960s and was also in a movie later called Kabhi Kabhi Later. It's the first few lines are मैं पल दो पल का शायर हूँ, पल दो पल मेरी कहानी है, पल दो पल मेरी हस्ती है, पल दो पल मेरी जवानी. It is now my distinct honor to introduce our moderator, Ambassador Pradeep Kapur, who graduated from IIT Delhi in 1977 and joined the Indian Foreign Services in 1979. He attained the rank of Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India in 2013. Described as a luminary diplomat, he was the first in his batch to be appointed as an ambassador in the year 2000. He served first as India's ambassador to the Kingdom of Cambodia and later as ambassador to the Republic of Chile. He has written many books. The latest title, Beyond COVID-19, Leveraging Technology for Better Healthcare, is a bestseller on Amazon. He is on the advisory board of Wheels Global Foundation and is leading the Smart Village Development Initiative. He's a frequent commentator on TV on matters pertaining to India's foreign affairs and security. It's now my pleasure to invite Ambassador Kapur.
Thank you very much, Amit.
Ambassador Kapur, you are on mute actually. You have to unmute.
Thank you very much, Amit, for setting the tone and for the kind introduction. By reciting the, Shaayari from Sahil Ludhianvi, you have created the right ambience for taking this event ahead. I will now very briefly, introduce the author of the book also, but also mention a little bit about what Wheels, beyond what Amit has mentioned. And in the many webinars that we have hosted, we have learned a lot about the policies, the practices, the processes, etc., which have become the basis for our own understanding and work in rural development and rural empowerment. We are now planning to take this to the next stage by making it a movement in the conference which is being hosted in the alma mater of Sunil Gupta, the Banaras Hindu University, on November 11, 12, 13th this year, for focusing more on the theme of global development through rural transformation. So please come and join us in this movement and contribute to this movement, because the rural population of India is about 900 million people, which is more than the population of the Western world. So once we are able to impact that, and at least 20% of that population by 2030, which is the goal of Wheels, it will make a significant difference to global economy, to the global growth. Now, today, we are taking a slightly off the beaten track and having this webinar in a slightly different vein to hear from a fellow IIT alumnus about the genius of Urdu poetry, a genre of communication that has woven into Indian culture over the centuries. So we will look forward to hearing from fellow alumnus from IIT BHU, Sunil Gupta ji, the author of the best-selling book, The Dictionary of Urdu Poetry for Shaayari Lovers. It is indeed a unique book because it has over 2,000 unfamiliar Urdu words drawn from over 6,000 shers written by the top 50 shires of India. The book is all in English, so a knowledge of Urdu is not required. Sunil will reveal the wonderful world of Urdu Shaayari, filled with feelings that are elegantly expressed. Amit has already mentioned about ghazals and he being the father of ghazals. So now we'll get into the interpretation of shers, which often depend on the reader's own experience and state of mind. Today, Sunil has most generously, indeed extremely generously offered to ship a special edition of his book to anyone who donates $100 to Wheels Global Foundation for the outstanding work that Wheels is doing. And the details for this can be found at www.wheelsglobal.org on the landing page itself. The link to this will also be shared in the chat button so that anybody who wants to get on while the webinar is also going on and order for a copy of the book, which I'll encourage all of you to do, because you'll be doing a double sort of benefit to yourself in terms of the satisfaction of giving, and to Wheels for carrying on the good work in the rural areas of India and the world. So that will be something which we will appreciate a lot. Sunil Gupta's bio profile is there on the screen already, but very briefly, he graduated from IIT BHU in Mechanical Engineering in 1984 and from IIM-Kolkata in 1986. He is currently the MD and CEO of Avis India. Over to you, Sunil, for taking us on this very exciting and interesting journey of Urdu Shaayari. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Kapur. It's a pleasure for me to be here today. And I've become aware of the activities of Wheels Global Foundation, and I'm amazed at the variety of its projects. A warm welcome to the members of PANIIT Book Club and to the benefactors of Wheels who are here today. Over the next 30 minutes, I will take you through the enchanting world of Urdu Shaayari from the beginning of the 18th century to the present day. Shairs are filled with human emotions and they have great delicacy of expression. And they're also very succinct. And so one can interpret the same shair in many different ways, depending on the listener's frame of mind and experience. I would like to make this session very interactive. And so I would urge all of you to make full use of the chat box. In case you find a share amazing, please say wah wah. In case a share arouses some feelings in you, please share the same feelings with everybody else in the chat box. I've also added some quiz questions based on popular culture. Please enter the answers also in the chat box. The golden period of Urdu Shaayari began in the 18th century. The 18th and 19th centuries were also full of chaos in India, particularly in North India and Delhi. Aurangzeb had died, and raiders from across the border made a series of raids on Delhi to plunder its riches. And then slowly the Mughal Empire started collapsing. The final blow was struck by the British when they quashed the mutiny of 1857 and exiled the then Mughal emperor to Burma. And as the Mughal Empire began to crumble, Shayars also lost patronage of the Mughal court. So it was in this crucible of disruption and violent change that Urdu Shairi evolved over 300 years and moved out from the palaces of Nawabs and Badshahs to the mushairas of the common man. Shayars, like most poets, are the conscience keepers of society. You'll be surprised to know that the 18th and 19th century Shayars were totally against religious bigotry and orthodoxy, and they claimed that love transcended differences between all religions. And the Shayars also were contemptuous of the Muslim clergy, and the reason for that was that the clergy was against alcohol, and a Shayar would rather die than teetotal. From time to time, Shayars also revealed their soft romantic side. I will recite a select set of shers, starting from Sauda, who was born in 1713, and ending up with Rajesh Reddy, who was born in 1952. You'll find early shers a bit archaic, but soon the language becomes much more simple. And while I recite a sher, I'll also share a slide which has the sher written in Hindi and English. It also has meanings of words which some of you may find difficult to. And each sher slide is numbered, so it will be easy for us to cross-reference the slide when we have any questions related to a particular sher in the Q&A section later on. Muhammad Rafi Sauda was the first major Shayar in the 18th century to emerge from Delhi. His name was Muhammad Rafi, and Sauda is his takallus or pen name. Most Shayars do have a pen name, and some of them also use the takallus in some of their shers. Muhammad Rafi Sauda was a very broad-minded man, and he in fact compared devotion to a beloved and worship of God. He said, Hindu hai Buddh parast, Musalman Khuda parast. Hindu hai Buddh parast, Musalman Khuda parast. पूजू मैं उस किसी को जो हो आशना परस्त. पूजू मैं उस किसी को जो हो आशना परस्त. Sauda is saying that he would rather revere somebody who's devoted to his beloved than somebody who's worshipping a distant god. Mir Taqi Mir is known as the Khuda of poetry. He also had to leave Delhi in the chaos of the raids on Delhi by Ahmad Shah Abdali. And these raids were only meant to plunder the riches of Delhi. And when the riches of Delhi were plundered, the nobles in the Mughal court in Delhi became poor overnight. And here Mir describes the pitiful situation of the Mughal nobility in Delhi. दिल्ली में आज भीख भी मिलती नहीं उन्हें. दिल्ली में आज भीख भी मिलती नहीं उन्हें. था कल तलक दिमाग जिन्हें ताजो तख्त का. था कल तलक दिमाग जिन्हें ताजो तख्त का. And Mir is saying that nobles who were used to sitting on thrones and wearing crowns on their head virtually became beggars on the streets of Delhi. And in a shift of gears, Mir was also a romantic Shayar, and see how vividly he is describing the softness of his beloved's lips. नाजुकी उसके लब की क्या कहिए. नाजुकी उसके लब की क्या कहिए. पंखुड़ी एक गुलाब की सी है. पंखुड़ी एक गुलाब की सी है. Mir died a broken man in Lucknow. Even his grave is not identifiable. Some people say that a railway line was laid over it. Ghulam Hamdani Musafi was a very prolific writer, but he remained in want and deprivation all his life. He tried to get patronage from the Delhi court and the Lucknow court, but he failed. And I will recite a well-known sher of his, which happens to be my personal favorite. Musafi, हम तो ये समझे थे कि होगा कोई जख्म. मुसफ़ी, हम तो ये समझे थे कि होगा कोई जख्म. तेरे दिल में तो बहुत काम रफू का निकला. तेरे दिल में तो बहुत काम रफू का निकला. Musafi says that, in the beginning I thought it was a tiny wound from some random heartbreak. But now that I see it, your heart is filled with wounds from multiple heartbreaks, and a lot of darning will be required to repair the tears in your heart. Musafi also did not have a great opinion about the girls of Delhi, particularly when it came to falling in love with them. ए मुसफ़ी, तू इनसे मोहब्बत न कीजिए. ए मुसफ़ी, तू इनसे मोहब्बत न कीजिए. जालिम गजब ही होती हैं ये दिल्ली वालियां. जालिम गजब ही होती हैं ये दिल्ली वालियां. Those of us who married girls from Delhi may not share this sentiment, but there you are. Which shaayar was called the god of poetry? You can write the answer in the chat box. Bahadur Shah Zafar was the Mughal emperor when the mutiny of 1857 took place. And he was arrested by the British. He was hiding in Humayun's tomb, tried for treason, and exiled to Burma, where he died. And Zafar was describing his sad, pitiable state in this sher. कितना है बदनसीब ज़फ़र दफन के लिए. कितना है बदनसीब ज़फ़र दफन के लिए. 2 गज ज़मीं भी न मिली हुए यार में. 2 गज ज़मीं भी न मिली हुए यार में. Zafar was devastated that he would not be buried in his beloved Delhi. If you visit Zafar Mahal in Mehrauli today, you can still see a vacant spot which was reserved for Zafar's grave, but which was never to happen. Sheikh Ibrahim Zauq was the poet laureate of the court of Bahadur Shah Zafar, and Zauq was also Zafar's mentor in poetry. He was the son of an ordinary soldier, and he remained down to earth all his life and used very simple language. And he became very popular with the masses. He was unhappy about the objection of the clergy to alcohol, which he brings forth in these 2 shers. Zahid, शराब पीने से काफिर हुआ मैं क्यों? जाहिद, शराब पीने से काफिर हुआ मैं क्यों? क्या 1.5 चुल्लू पानी में ईमान बह गया? क्या 1.5 चुल्लू पानी में ईमान बह गया? Zauq is saying that, is my religious faith so shallow that just by drinking 2 handfuls of wine, do I lose my faith? Zauq, जो मदरसे के बिगड़े हुए हैं मुल्ला. Zauq, जो मदरसे के बिगड़े हुए हैं मुल्ला, उनको मैखाने में ले आओ, सवर जाएंगे. उनको मैखाने में ले आओ, सवर जाएंगे. Zauq's remedy for reforming the clergy was to serve them wine in bars and chill them out. To which country was Bahadur Shah Zafar exiled? Mirza Ghalib was part of a family of soldiers in the Mughal army. His father died when he was 5, and he had no inheritance, and he remained poor all his life. He became the mentor to Bahadur Shah Zafar after Zauq, but that arrangement ended in 1857. And Ghalib used his stature as a shaayar to poke fun at concepts sacred to Muslims. Muslims believe that a joyous heaven awaits pious Muslims when they die. And Ghalib took aim at that concept or that belief in his usual witty style. हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत, लेकिन हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत, लेकिन दिल के खुश रखने को गालिब ये ख्याल अच्छा है. दिल के खुश रखने को गालिब ये ख्याल अच्छा है. Ghalib says that I know there is no heaven really, but dreaming about the joys of heaven after you die makes your shitty life on earth more bearable. And again, shaayaris can be interpreted in many different ways. This happens to be my interpretation. I'm sure there are many others. Besides Ghalib, which other shaayar was a mentor of Bahadur Shah Zafar? Dagh Delvi was a grandson of Bahadur Shah Zafar. He was a very renowned romantic shaayar, and he brought shaayari down to the physical level, as you can see in this shape. Shab-e Visal hai, gul kar do in charagon ko. Shab-e Visal hai, gul kar do in charagon ko. खुशी की बज़्म में क्या काम जलने वालों का. खुशी की बज़्म में क्या काम जलने वालों का. And Dagh is saying that it's tonight's night of joyous lovemaking. Extinguish the lamps. Who needs jealous peeping toms when you are making love? And
Sunilji, sorry to interrupt. Can you make it to full screen? Some attendees are saying, make this slide full screen.
Is that better?
Yeah, better now. Thank you.
Amir Minai was a contemporary of Dagh Delvi. He also left Delhi, but he found refuge in the court of Rampur, where he spent the rest of his life. And see how evocatively Amir Minai is describing how slowly a beautiful lady's veil is slipping down her face in this shape. सरकती जाए है रुख से नखाब आहिस्ता आहिस्ता. सरकती जाए है रुख से नकाब आहिस्ता आहिस्ता. निकलता आ रहा है आफताब आहिस्ता आहिस्ता. निकलता आ रहा है आफताब आहिस्ता आहिस्ता. Which famous ghazal singer made this ghazal very famous? This ghazal singer was a household name in the 80s and 90s. The Shaayar had now lost royal patronage from the Delhi court, and he had to fend for himself and get sustenance for his craft. Akbar Allahabadi is a good example of this new Shaayar. He was a self-made man. He had to leave school when he was 15 because of financial difficulties. He studied English through self-study, cleared the bar exam, and retired as a sessions court judge in Allahabad. And Akbar was a master of satire and a keen observer of the changing times as the 19th century moved into the 20th century. लिपट भी जा न रुक अकबर, गजब की ब्यूटी है. लिपट भी जा न रुक अकबर, गजब की ब्यूटी है. नहीं नहीं पे न जा, ये हया की ड्यूटी है. नहीं नहीं पे न जा, ये हया की ड्यूटी है. Akbar is saying that a woman is expected to put on a show of modesty, and that should not deter an avid lover. I know in these times of Me Too and evolving concept of consent, this is bizarre, but I think we should give some leeway to Akbar because he was writing it at the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries. He also wrote a very famous sher, which some of you may have heard already. हम आह भी करते हैं तो हो जाते हैं बदनाम. हम आह भी करते हैं तो हो जाते हैं बदनाम, वो कत्ल भी करते हैं तो चर्चा नहीं होता, वो कत्ल भी करते हैं तो चर्चा नहीं होता. And Akbar is alluding to a near universal feeling. All of us at some time or the other felt that the world sucks. I make a small mistake and I lose my reputation. Whereas there are some who commit daylight murder and get away scot-free. The 20th century saw the dawn of a modern India marked by the freedom struggle and partition. And the concerns of the Shayar moved from the philosophical level to the realities of life. Jigar Muradabadi epitomized this 20th century Shayar. He was a very well-known, iconic, romantic Shayar who regaled audiences in mushairas. And here he is indicating the times of the partition. उनका जो फर्ज है वो अहले सियासत जाने, उनका जो फर्ज है वो अहले सियासत जाने, मेरा पैगाम मोहब्बत है जहां तक पहुंचे, मेरा पैगाम मोहब्बत है जहां तक पहुंचे. And Jigar is saying that during partition, politicians were playing the Hindu-Muslim card, but he saw his role as that of a messenger of love, whose message could reach as far as he could manage. Which Shayar retired as a Sessions Court judge in Allahabad. Majrooh Sultanpuri found fame also as a film lyricist for Hindi films. A lot of his friends moved over to Pakistan after partition. And Majrooh is describing how he's feeling a bit of a stranger in his own motherland. Zubaan hamari na samjha yahan koi Majrooh. Zubaan hamari na samjha yahan koi Majrooh. हम अजनबी की तरह अपने वतन में रहे, हम अजनबी की तरह अपने वतन में रहे. The mid-20th century saw the evolution of new forms of Shairi. The concerns became that of the alienation and loneliness of life in big cities and the shallowness of human relationships. And the language became simple and direct. Muhammad Alvi is a good example. He lived all his life in Ahmedabad. And he was a master of brevity. He hit on the traditional rules of Shairi. And his shares can also be interpreted in many diverse ways. बुला रहा था कोई चीख चीख कर मुझको, बुला रहा था कोई चीख चीख कर मुझको, कुएं में झांक कर देखा तो मैं ही अंदर था, कुएं में झांक कर देखा तो मैं ही अंदर था. Ahmad Faraz was born in Pakistan and he was a critic of General Zia-ul Haq. He was imprisoned and on his release, he took exile on his own to Europe. After Zia died, Ahmad Faraz came back to Pakistan and he held many important government positions and won many state awards. इस तरह से गुजारी है जिंदगी जैसे, इस तरह से गुजारी है जिंदगी जैसे, तमाम उम्र किसी दूसरे के घर में रहा, तमाम उम्र किसी दूसरे के घर में रहा. If you live in exile in a foreign land, this is exactly how you would feel. And Ahmad Faraz was no different. अब के हम बिछड़े तो शायद कहीं ख्वाबों में मिले, अब के हम बिछड़े तो शायद कहीं ख्वाबों में मिले, जिस तरह सूखे हुए फूल किताबों में मिले, जिस तरह सूखे हुए फूल किताबों में मिले. Living in exile without friends in an alien land made Ahmad Faraz nostalgic for the friends he had left back home. In which city did the Shayar Muhammad Alvi live all his life? Bashir Badr was a professor whose house in Meerut was burned during communal riots. He then shifted to Bhopal, where he now lives. Zindagi tune mujhe qabr se kam di hai zami. Zindagi tune mujhe qabr se kam di hai zami. पांव फैलाऊं तो दीवार में सर लगता है. पांव फैलाऊं तो दीवार में सर लगता है. Bashir Badr is indicating that in big cities, space is at a premium. And he's also probably hinting at his constrained circumstances. यहां लिबास की कीमत है, आदमी की नहीं. यहां लिबास की कीमत है, आदमी की नहीं. मुझे गिलास बड़े दे, शराब कम कर दे. मुझे गिलास बड़े दे, शराब कम कर दे. Bashir Badr is saying that in modern society, a person is judged by his appearance rather than his intrinsic qualities. And that is why Bashir Badr would like to hold a big goblet of wine, even if it contains little of the wine. Which famous Pakistani shayer was anti-General Zia-ul-Haq? Shahriyar was an academician and also a film lyricist for critically acclaimed Hindi films. This sher is from a Hindi film set in Mumbai in the 70s. सीने में जलन, आंखों में तूफान सा क्यों है? सीने में जलन, आंखों में तूफान सा क्यों है? इस शहर में हर शख्स परेशान सा क्यों है? इस शहर में हर शख्स परेशान सा क्यों है? The protagonist in the film is tired of the rigors of life in a big city like Mumbai, and he would like nothing better than to go back to his small idyllic village in UP, from where he came. What is the name of this Hindi film where this sher appeared in a ghazal? All the songs in the blockbuster Umrao Jaan were based on ghazals written by Shahriyar, and here is one of them. ये क्या जगह है दोस्तों, ये कौन सा दयार है? ये क्या जगह है दोस्तों, ये कौन सा दयार है? हद निगाह तक गुबार ही गुबार है. हद निगाह तक गुबार ही गुबार है. On which film actress was this ghazal picturized in the Hindi film Umrao Jaan? Zehra Nigah was born in Hyderabad, India, but she moved to Pakistan after partition. Hers is a very rare woman's voice in Urdu Shaayari, and she talks about domestic and feminist themes. अब इस घर की आबादी मेहमानों में पर है. अब इस घर की आबादी मेहमानों पर है. कोई आ जाए तो वक्त गुजर जाता है. कोई आ जाए तो वक्त गुजर जाता है. Those of us who have become empty nesters as our children have moved out of the home would identify with this sentiment. छोटी सी बात पे खुश होना मुझे आता था. छोटी सी बात पे खुश होना मुझे आता था, पर बड़ी बात पे चुप रहना तुम्ही से सीखा. पर बड़ी बात पे चुप रहना तुम्ही से सीखा. Zehra is saying that a woman is allowed to feel happy about the small decisions she makes in daily life. But when it comes to big issues, big matters, women have no voice. I know a lot has changed since the time Zehra Nigah wrote this. But again, this is what she felt when she wrote it. Gulzar needs no introduction to all of us. He is a well-known film director, film lyricist, and poet. And he weaves magic through simple, ordinary words used in daily life. And in this sher, he is hinting at the loneliness he is feeling, probably after he got separated from his film actress wife. आईना देखकर तसल्ली हुई, आईना देखकर तसल्ली हुई, हमको इस घर में जानता है कोई, हमको इस घर में जानता है कोई. Javed Akhtar found fame also as a script writer for blockbuster Amitabh Bachchan movies, which he wrote jointly with Salim. And here he is talking about the trend of high rises in big cities in a very telling manner. ऊंची इमारतों से मकान मेरा घिर गया, ऊंची इमारतों से मकान मेरा घिर गया, कुछ लोग मेरे हिस्से का सूरज भी खा गए, कुछ लोग मेरे हिस्से का सूरज भी खा गए. What is the name of Gulzar's film actress wife from whom he is now separated? Parveen Shakir was a civil servant in Pakistan, and her promising career as a shaira was cut short when she died in a tragic car accident when she was just 42. And here she is describing the power imbalance between men and women in our societies. मैं सच कहूंगी मगर फिर भी हार जाऊंगी, मैं सच कहूंगी मगर फिर भी हार जाऊंगी, वो झूठ बोलेगा और लाजवाब कर देगा, वो झूठ बोलेगा और लाजवाब कर देगा. Telling the truth does not take women very far, whereas a man can win any argument, even with lies. Again, a lot has changed in our times, but be that as it may, this made sense to her then. Name any Amitabh Bachchan film whose script Javed Akhtar co-wrote with Salim. Even one film name would do. I would now like to end my session with two shades from Rajesh Reddy, who in his unique style describes modern day realities. वो आफ्ताब लाने का देकर हमें फरे, वो आब लाने का देकर हमें फरे, हमसे हमारी रात के जुगनू भी ले गया, हमसे हमारी रात के जुगनू भी ले गया. Rajesh says that politicians make tall promises, but in the end, we may even lose the simple pleasures of life in the bargain. And this last share is perfect for the Instagram times in which we live. मुस्कुराया कैमरे के सामने, मुस्कुराया कैमरे के सामने, एक गवाही मैंने दी खुद के खिलाफ, एक गवाही मैंने दी खुद के खिलाफ. Rajesh says that I put on my best face for a photograph and succeed in misleading everybody else about how I really feel inside. I hope you enjoyed this short session. In case you still found some Urdu words difficult to understand, you can refer to your copy of the Dictionary of Urdu Poetry for Shaayari Lovers, which will be in your hands soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sunil ji. That was wonderful, absolutely. And we will now move to the question and answer session. So, Amit, we can take up the questions which have been raised.
The first question that I have is from Beshik Char, and the question is, in Shaayari, do the lines have to rhyme?
Yeah, actually, it's an interesting question. Basically, what happens is that the first two lines, which is the matla, they have to have the identical word at the end of the line, or the misra as it is called. So in the first couplet, the last words are identical. Subsequent to that, all subsequent couplets have to have the second line, which has that same word repeating. That's the radif. And there's a kafia, which is that before the last word, common word is put in, you have a play of similar sounding rhyming words also before you reach the Radif. But basically, to put it in short, yes, the first two lines, the last two words have to be same. Subsequently, the second line of each couplet has to feature the same word.
So thank you, Sunil. I also want to mention to you before Amit takes up the next question, is that this was a very inspiring and a very enjoyable session. I was watching the comments by the participants. If you go through the chat box, you will see the appreciation and the responses which were received on all your quiz questions. So we may want to also acknowledge and confirm the responses of the quiz questions so that the people who were able to respond so quickly, by the time you were finishing the question, there were people already putting in the answers.
I was noticing that.
Chat box, yes. So this has been absolutely phenomenal in terms of audience participation. I am very happy that it has worked out so well, and there has been a lot of learning for me also. There are so many new things which I have learned today. It is really, an inspiration to get more deeper into this, area of understanding and knowledge. And my wife is already ordering your book, just for information. And I hope that large number of speakers today, large number of participants today in this session will order your book. It will be a great source of joy and learning. Thank you. Back to you, Amit. There's a question I see raised. Yeah, Deeptiman Yadav also had raised her hand. But
For that, I think
Amit, you can curate that.
What is the financial situation of the shaayars? Unfortunately, poets, writers mostly have had a lot of financial challenges. It was only one or two very, very well-known shaayars who got patronage from the courts of Delhi, Lucknow, Rampur, Hyderabad. And there was a lot of jostling for that position as well. So for every such patronage which was on offer, there was a lot of backbiting, politics, all the rest of it. So unfortunately, they never made much money from their craft. Mir Taqi Mir, in fact, was desperately poor, and he also lost the favor of the Lucknow Nawab, and that was the end of his fun. In fact, Ghalib also was totally destitute. He in fact made a long journey to Calcutta to seek pension from the British, but even that failed. Now what's happening now is that in Mushairas are a new option. They also had a second career. They became film lyricists. They became poets. So they had that second option as well, because you couldn't make a honest living with Shaayari. Things have improved now because now you have offline, online modes as well. But short answer is they are not in good financial shape and never have been.
Thank you. Amit?
Are there any questions, audience? We would like, if you have any questions, please raise them.
And we have, promoted every participant to this panelist mode.
I was just going to recite.
Yes.
If I may.
Dr. Raj Shah, of course.
Great.
This was in reference to the second slide. Sunil, to see professionals and engineers, doctors, those who are not usually in literature to compile and do this is just amazing. And of course, Urdu is one of the most difficult language because we are not used to, and all of our film songs and dialogues, many use Urdu words. For example, word like aftab, it took me so many years to learn that aftab is Suraj and mehtab is Chandra. And I thought it is afat rather than. So chaudhvi ka chand ho, ya aftab ho. Afat kahan se aa gayi? But let me come to the second slide. We had mentioned about Delhi and Nawab and who are now beggars
back on the screen, Sunil.
So in that, everything is ephemeral. And Amit, you started with Pal Ka Shaayar Hoon. पल दो पल का शायर हूँ. So in that, this is actually in Gujarati, and it comes what we call wheel of time. And of course, it's appropriate because Will's organization is one of the sponsor. So wheel of time, हम कहते हैं काल चक्र की फेरी. And it goes like this. Raja Rana, Akkad Sena, Vishat Shitam Raj Tani, Kai Satta par Kutka Maro, Lakh Kotina Bale Tani, लाख तो मुट्ठी खाक बराबर, करोड़ छोड़ से सरवाले, सत्ता सूखा घास बराबर, बड़ी आस पासे बाड़े, चक्रवर्ती महाराज चालिया, काल चक्रनी फेरिए, सगा दिठा में शाह आलम ना, भीख मांगता सेरिए. In so everything
So
is
beautifully said.
Thank you. Thank you, Pradeep ji.
But you must explain for the benefit of the rest
Yeah,
of us.
the explanation, in other words, people collect so much, they are become so arrogant with all the power, money, and become king with all this, all
Acquisitions.
their
Material acquisitions.
material equipment and their, but
Acquisitions,
but
yeah.
they still, it's going to be so ephemeral, and it is going to one day burn down, and they will be on the street, and that's what the Shire has seen them. So remember the wheel of time. Samay, it just goes up and down, and it was a beautiful thank you, Pradeep.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Acha.
So I have
anybody
another
else who
question
has any
from
comments
Ashok
here?
Patra.
Yeah.
He says, I wish you had talked about some new Urdu poets of modern era. Ashok, can you explain more about that?
Ashok Batraji, very prominent and eminent.
Yeah, I can.
leader. Yeah.
Basically, I think it is very heartening to know that there's a lot of new talent coming in. Lot of new voices are coming into Shaayari, and there are a lot of very young people, and there are also a lot of women. I think the ratio of women to men is improving by the day. But I had to cover almost 300 years through 30 odd shares. So it was difficult to include all the young voices as well. But I think among the new voices, I really feel that Rajesh Reddy is really outstanding. He's able to talk about concepts about real life, far removed from philosophy and romance, and come down to earth. So I think it will take some time for the new voices to also emerge in the mushairas and such sort of events that you have. That's actually where they become prominent. And last 2-3 years, because of COVID, there have been few opportunities. I think now it is slowly coming back. Rekhta is having its Jashn-e Rekhta in December. So I'm looking forward to a lot of new shayars emerging in those sessions.
So Mr. Ashok Batra is also unmuted as well. Over to you.
Yes, thank you very much for answering that. I have seen those programs on YouTube, which are held annually in Delhi. The other thing I see is that in lot of mushairas and kavi sammelan, you have the poets from Urdu literature, also poets from Hindi literature as well. That is a very healthy, I would say, development. Another thing is that I must acknowledge the contribution of some famous singers who brought the Urdu ghazals to the knowledge of the common people, like Jagjit Singh, I will say, first one in that type.
Absolutely. It became very, very popular in the 80s, 90s. And actually, I think as some person also mentioned earlier, the vehicle for Urdu actually has been Bollywood films, because bulk of the songs, bulk of the dialogues, colloquial Hindustani, as you would call it, is very, very similar. In fact, the lot of words are shared in common, and most North Indians would be able to understand most of the Urdu which is spoken. So a lot of commonality. The scripts have diverged. since the independence period, but the grammar, the lexicography, very, very similar. And actually, it's a shared heritage for the last 300-400 years for the subcontinent.
Thank you, Sunil. There are a lot of appreciative comments also in the chat box, which are still continuing. Galore. Ratan Agarwal has a question. Ratan, would you like to unmute yourself and ask it live?
Yes, Sunilji, just outstanding. I think the flow you maintained and the line sequence you covered was just amazing to revive all that, the 200 years. Just a curious question. I mean, it's such a wonderful art form. And I'm wondering if any type of support structure, whether private institutions or the government would help keep this art form healthy.
Actually, I am a big believer in the private enterprise, so I'll reserve my comments. I can see Ambassador Kapur is there and many other stalwarts of. But I think that there is support will actually come from the lovers of the Shaayari art form. It can't be imposed from the top. And also, I must add that even if it is tried to be de-emphasized from the top, I think it's a people's art form, one of the few which the ordinary man on the street can also participate in. Very few art forms are such. You have folk dancing, which is there. You have Ram Leelas, which is there. It's in the same ballpark. Anybody can go to a mushaira and listen to lovely shaayari, and languages become very, very simple now. Nobody has time for archaic Arabic, Persian kind of words. Words used are today's words used on the streets of India. Javed Akhtar and Gulzar. Very, very simple words, and they touch your heart so well. So I don't think there's any support which can be top down. Let us sort of watch more YouTube videos of emerging shaayars. There's more actually happening now because of social media. They have more lines of revenue if they are liked by a certain number of people. Influencers are there. So you'll also notice that the younger lot are very active on social media. Every day you see them posting stuff on the social media. So I think a grassroots support would be to like their output, their shares, give them that traction so that they become better influencers, monetize their art form a bit more. I think it will be that sort of
There's definitely
bottom-up thing which will work for the shaayars.
Like the Housekeeping Sammelan, there I see more and more of them, and that has really revived that. So many of those now.
Yeah, something similar will have to be done here also, I guess, in terms of more, events which are organized for these sort of ghazals and shero shaayari. Now, Deeptiman Yadav has written that IIT BHU की hostels की गलियारों में बिताए गए समय की याद ताजा हो गई, काशी यात्रा. Then Afzal, I'll just tell you, Amanullah Aman wants to recite a couple of couplets, one old and one new. Amanullah ji, आप अपने आप को unmute करें और वीडियो ऑन करें और फिर start करें अपना जो recite करना है आपको.
Sir, thank you so much. And this is, I don't know how to do the video, but that's okay. Yeah, बचपन से उर्दू और उर्दू की शेर व शायरी सुनता आ रहा हूँ और स्कूलों में भी काफी पढ़ा और कव्वालियाँ गाया बचपन में बिहार के वेरी रिमोट एरियाज में जब जिंदगी गुजरी. हमारे पटना साइंस कॉलेज में एक प्रोफेसर हुआ करते थे कलीम आजिज, जो कि बहुत बड़े शायर थे अपने ज़माने के. 1980 की बात है, 90 की बात है. तो जब वो क्लास हमारा स्टार्ट करते थे तो इस शेर से स्टार्ट करता, फर्स्ट क्लास ऑफ माय आईएससी उर्दू में, अपना तो काम है कि जलाते चलो चिराग, रास्ते में खाह दोस्त के दुश्मन का घर मिले. That was a new couplet. I thought I say Kaleem Ajiz is saying that my work is to keep on lighting the light, whether it's whose ever house it is. So that was the new one. Sir, I have one more very old. दर्द एक शायर हुआ करते थे मीर दर्द, उनका सिर्फ एक शेर पढ़ूंगा। जिंदगी है या कोई तूफान है, हम तो इस जीने के हाथों मर चले। और ये सर 1960s में इस पे लोगों ने गाया भी है सर बॉलीवुड में। सो जिंदगी है या कोई तूफान है, हम तो इस जीने के हाथों मर चले। दोस्तों देखा तमाशा यहाँ का बस, तुम रहो हम हम तो अपने घर चले। सो जिंदगी है या कोई तूफान है, हम तो इस जीने के हाथों मर चले। दोस्तों देखा तमाशा यहाँ का बस, तुम रहो अब हम तो अपने घर चले। Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Amanullah ji. We appreciate that, and a very, very interesting shares which you have recited. Now, Krishan Goenka also has raised his hand, but Sunil, your capacity to explain so much in such a short time. When we were, doing the dry run for this, I was not very sure that we'd be able to go through this in the time frame that we had thought about, but you have shown that it was possible. So now we'll request Kishan Goenka ji to unmute yourself, switch on your video, and come forth with your comment.
Thank you, Ambassador. Well, I have one comment for Sunil ji. First of all, you did wonderful. You have revived my memories of my 60s, 70s, attending the mushairas at Kavi Sammelans in the parks, which you revived, and then get fired at home in the morning. What time you came? You came at 3 o'clock, but we say we came at 12. Second thing
Nothing
is,
has changed.
yes, of course, that is changed. Now, I know hardly my grandchildren, they like to say what time they came back home. The second is that when we are talking of Urdu Shaayari, maybe Harivansh Bachchan was not writing in Urdu, but his mention of Madhushala must be included anywhere when we talk of Shaayari in India or in this part of the world. That's my personal comment for you.
No, in fact, I agree wholeheartedly, though it was not Shaayari in the strictest sense. I think his book is iconic. Even now, I mean, people buy those books and read them. Wonderful output from Harivansh Rai Bachchan ji. I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the last thing is, I want to just recite two lines only, which I recite very, very often at many places, whether people understand or don't understand. Even living in Europe, in Switzerland, I used to recite in the meetings, which is from Gopal Das Neeraj. Might have heard him as well. He was in Kanpur and he belonged to Kanpur as well. इतने बदनाम हुए हम तो इस जमाने में, लगेंगी आपको सदियां हमें बुलाने में. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Kishan ji. And just to mention for the benefit of Sunil and the others, we are very proud of Kishan Goenka. He is the chairman of our Delhi and North India chapter of Wheels. And I didn't know we had so much hidden talent, in Wheels also, that they can recite.
Including yourselves.
Even Dr. Raj Shah, who came in earlier with a couplet.
Yes, that was a big surprise.
Yeah, very big surprise to me also. And he's the chairman of the Health Council of Wheels. So thank you to Dr. Raj Shah also. Anybody else has any comments or, interventions? And I hope lots of you have already purchased the book.
Kapur Sahab, I have a comment. Somebody did mention how to support poets financially, whether there is any government comes forward to do it. I recall an incident where Gopal Das Neeraj was given some kind of a stipend by the UP government. As soon as the government changed, they stopped that. Sometimes they are victims of the politics as well.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. And that is what Sunil and others also refer to as there used to be the appreciation and the sort of recognitions and monetary support of artists. And that also happens at, in different ways and forms even now. For example, when I was ambassador in Chile, we requested some very rich Indian philanthropists to support Chilean citizens who are Spanish speaking to go to India, stay in India for up to a year and learn some form of Indian art or art form, dance form, performing arts. So when these Chileans went to India with this, scholarship or support by the Indian diaspora in Chile, they came back as very great learned artists, and they could understand a lot of the Indian classical art forms. So they either became singers or musicians or dancers. So it was very fascinating to see this transformation. And then they became ambassadors of India. And then they also had an opportunity to earn a living out of that art form, not just, be people who had understood some classical form of art, but also earn some money from that learning. So that was very useful. So yes, there is royal patronage, which continues, and different ways of that royal patronage, which can happen. So we hope that that continues even in a more bigger form. But the Indian diaspora itself can play a prominent role because, public-private community partnership has become more and more important. And to put the burden entirely on the government or have expectations only from the government may not be entirely appropriate. So how we can form some sort of, even in the capital IIT or in the legal segment of the Indian diaspora or in the medical segment, which is the RP, some sort of support funding for this would be a useful idea to explore. Diptiman Yadav has also raised the hand. Diptiman ji, आप भी unmute करके, video on करके अपना दो शब्द बोलें.
थैंक यू कपूर साहब. मेरा वीडियो शायद लुका छिपी कर रहा है तो शायद नहीं हो पा रहा है. नहीं, बस ये हम एक just a thought was crossing my mind कि see we have the same tongue, same जो जुबान है. In our workplace it helps us. तकनीकी शब्दों की झड़ी लग जाती है वर्क प्लेस में, और लेकिन ऐसे फोरम्स में देखिए इतने मीठे मीठे शब्दों की फुहार जैसे बारिश जैसा हो रहा है. So this is the beauty of our brain and heart working together. Just wanted to say 2 lines, शायद गुलजार जी की हैं कि ऐ उम्र अगर हिम्मत है तो ये भी करके दिखा. ऐ उम्र अगर हिम्मत है तो ये भी करके दिखा. बचपन तो छीन लिया, जरा बचपना छीन के दिखा.
वाह, वंडरफुल बात है. और आपने इतने अच्छे लफ्जों में इसका इंट्रोडक्शन भी किया. Where the heart and
बस
या
जैसा कि मैंने कहा कि हम लोग का ये समित बोले.
नहीं, मैं बोल रहा था कि दीप्तिमान, मैं और सुनील एक ही बैच के हैं 1984 IIT BHU के. So I am proud of these 2 gentlemen who are my batchmates.
We are birds of same feather flocking together. बहुत आनंद आ रहा है सुनील एंड आप सब लोग. कपूर साहब इतना बढ़िया कर रहे हैं, अमित एंड ऑल, सबने आपने मिलके बिल्कुल यहाँ पे इंद्रधनुषी रंग बिछा दिया बिल्कुल.
So Diptiman is a poet actually. He writes many poems and he has recited his poems in our WhatsApp group.
Yeah, करता रहता हूँ कभी-कभी. I will share definitely.
Phenomenal. We could sort of get a glimpse of that from his, the way he introduced the entire intervention and his words. Thank you so much, Diptiman ji. It's an honor.
Thank you, sir. बहुत अच्छा रहा है. आनंद आ रहा है बिल्कुल. Amazing.
तो आप सब थोड़ा सा इसमें भी जट जाएं. जो हमारा नवंबर का कॉन्फ्रेंस हो रहा है 11, 12, 13 global development through rural transformation at the BHU, of which a lot of you are alumni. So we will expect your contributions in terms of your time, talent, and treasure, because we intend to convert this into a movement which will impact 20% of the rural population of India by 2030. So everybody's role is very important in that. Any other comments by anybody? Anybody else raising their hands?
Hi, I wrote previously. This is Ravinder Singh.
Yes.
And what wanted to highlight while I was going through the presentation was one aspect which I felt was shared, but I thought I'd share a couple of examples that a lot of these shayars from 200 years ago and 300 years ago sounded quite modern in many of their couplets, so, to the extent that I actually quizzed some of my batchmates in a WhatsApp group and asked them in which year this particular share might
Which
have
batch are
been
you,
written.
Ravi? Which batch are you revising? Which batch?
I am actually from 1993 IIT Delhi batch. So I don't know how I got this invite. I thought it was more like a Pan IIT kind of invite, but one of my batchmates forwarded this, and I don't like to lose any opportunity since there are very few related to Urdu poetry. So मैं एक शेयर करना चाहता था जो मैंने ऐसे क्विज किया था अपने बैचमेट्स में, और वो इंसिडेंटली मोहम्मद सौदा जी का था, जिनसे आई थिंक प्रेजेंटेशन शुरू हुई थी, और वो ऐसा था कि आशिक की भी कटती हैं क्या खूब तरह रातें, आशिक की भी कटती हैं क्या खूब तरह रातें, दो चार घड़ी रोना दो चार घड़ी बातें. So a lot of my friends actually thought it was a 1950 or 1960 kind of a share, and Sauda died in 1781. I just checked. So meaning it's just amazing to see how simple and modern sounding this share was, written back then. So एक ये शेयर मैं शेयर करना चाहता था, और एक दूसरे शायर जिनको जो मुझे काफी इंटरेस्टिंग लगे, उनका एक और शेयर करना चाहता था. वो भी प्रेजेंटेशन में था, अकबर इलाहाबादी साहब, और वो भी मुझे बहुत मॉडर्न लगे. आई थिंक शेयर जो उनका शेयर किया गया था वो जिसमें इंग्लिश वर्ड यूज किए थे उन्होंने, दैट वाज क्वाइट मॉडर्न, ब्यूटी एंड ड्यूटी. पर एक और जो शेयर मुझे पूरी तरह समझ में नहीं आया, तो मैं बाद में पूछूंगा आपसे कि पूरा मतलब क्या है. पर उसकी जो सेकंड लाइन है वो बहुत ही सेक्युलर है, जो विच वाज वेरी मॉडर्न. मतलब उस जमाने में शायद लोग इतने ज्यादा बिल्कुल भी बाउंड्रीज बिलीव नहीं करते थे, और इट्स संग बाय गुलाम अली एक्चुअली. हंगामा है क्यों बरपा गजल में एक शेर है कि सूरज में लगे धब्बा फितरत के करिश्मे हैं, सूरज में लगे धब्बा फितरत के करिश्मे हैं, बुत हमको कहें काफिर अल्लाह की मर्जी है. So, मैं इसमें सिर्फ एम्फेसाइज करूंगा सेकंड लाइन पे कि बुत हमको कहें काफिर. ये बहुत ही काउंटर इंट्यूटिव लाइन है, क्योंकि बुत जनरली रेफर करते थे हिंदू आइडल्स और हिंदुइज्म को, और जनरली काफिर ऑपोजिट सेंस में यूज किया जाता है, और इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी यूज्ड बाय Hindus towards a Muslim, more like the opposite. But उन्होंने ये शेर, अकबर इलाहाबादी ने ये शेर लिखा, बुत हमको कहें काफिर,
ये तो
और उसके बाद आगे वो कहते हैं कि ये अल्लाह की मर्जी है. So it's just mind boggling how much he was kind of secular in nature, that he is almost saying the inverse of what probably became more prevalent later on.
Ravi, I may just like to add that actually they were the vanguard of secularism, the shayars. They were actually against orthodoxy throughout. If you see all the 300 years, it keeps coming repeatedly that they were challenging the mullahs, So, I mean, I think they were not being circumspect. They were being actually at the cutting edge of anti-bigotry, anti-orthodoxy.
So, Sunil,
they weren't scared of anybody, actually.
So, my question will be now primarily this, that, this is an art form which needs revival. This is an art form which needs greater participation by the youth. And this is an art form which needs to be out there to challenge all the bigotry and all the fundamentalism and all the, jihad, all the political jihad, the political Islam, which is disrupting the entire country and the world in so many significant ways. Because for the moderate Islamic community to stand up against this very extreme form of Islamic jihad and political Islam is very essential. So if there are art forms like this, which can give a platform to those voices, I think that'll be very useful. Also on this show today, I have yet to see any of the ladies come up and, speak up or give a comment. They have been writing a lot. There have been a lot of ladies who have written comments on the chat box. But in person, okay, there is Kavita Kapur. Kavita, over to you. You've raised your hand.
So, since you have mentioned there is no lady coming, I think we should not let you get away with that. I'll recite one share by Sahil Ludhianvi. Sunil, with your permission.
Ambassador's permission.
No, you are the So this is a very famous one of his, which I think many of you would have read, but I'll say it here. माना कि इस जहां को गुलशन ना कर सके हम, माना कि इस जहां को गुलशन ना कर सके, कुछ कांटे ही कम कर गए गुजरे जिधर से हम.
Wonderful, wonderful,
Wonderful.
Very good. So we need to sort of encourage a lot of youth and a lot of women to come forward, and to sort of become practitioners of this art form, because that way it will gather a lot of sustainability, momentum, and speed also. So
yeah, and I would just like to add
how do we sort of brainstorm that aspect is what some of us will have to see on this chat group also separately later or now. That how do we encourage the youth and the women to come to the forefront of this movement so that it takes on like wildfire across the country and across the world. Sunil, you were saying something.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Sunil.
No, I'm just saying that, the woman's voice in Shaayari is totally different. I mean, so refreshing. The 2-3 shares I said, no male shaayar can put those concepts and feelings in such a beautiful language.
Indeed.
It's incredible.
Indeed.
Sorry.
Yeah. Dr. Raj Shah is also.
तो सर ने बोला कि यूथ का पार्टिसिपेशन भी जरूरी है, तो मैंने सोचा थोड़ा सा एक शेर मैं भी बोल लूं अगर आप
He is one of the youngest men on this performance show today.
Yeah. So I just want to cite one share from Fahmi Badami. He said, पूछ लेते वो बस मिजाज मेरा, पूछ लेते वो बस मिजाज मेरा, कितना आसान था इलाज मेरा, कितना आसान था इलाज मेरा. और just to sum up one more, पढ़ो तो चंद अल्फाज हैं ये शायरियां, पढ़ो तो चंद अल्फाज हैं ये शायरियां, समझो तो जवाब हैं ये कई उलझे सवालों के.
वाह, क्या बात है यज्ञ, आप तो छुपे रुस्तम निकले एकदम.
थैंक यू सर.
ये तो बहुत ही गजब कर दिया तुमने यज्ञ, मजा आ गया. तो डॉक्टर राज शाह, बैक टू यू अगेन.
I was going to say, and you already mentioned about upcoming seminar at BHU. Some of them are BHU alumni. So if they would come and support, that'd be fantastic. And maybe even during our seminar, we can have a evening of shaayaris, which I think will be very well received. That would be my comment on that.
Well, provided we have a large number of participants who are youth and women, then it'll be easier to support that.
Thank you, Ji. Thank
Suresh
you.
is raising his hand, the president of Wheels Global. Suresh. So
thank you. Thank you, Sunil, for just a fantastic journey through not only India's history, through shaayaris, but also a very intellectually stimulating conversation. I have a couple of questions for you. Is the culture of shaayari generally restricted? Like many people said, the shaayaris were very poor people. So is it like soul music in America, which also gets its roots from slaves and slavery, and so is there a commonality there between that part of Indian culture. I presume shairis are all Indian and not necessarily Persian. Is there a relationship between that culture, if you will, and is it found in other countries besides India?
Yeah, actually, if I may just, it's a very complicated question. I'll try to answer it. Basically, I think what came through is that some shayars were poor because they could not earn from the craft. But there were some landed gentry who were also shayar. For example, Muhammad Hafiz Sauda was landed gentry, the ideal rich. So it's not fair to say that all of them were poor. But yes, it is fair to say that you can't make a living out of it. You have to depend on sponsors and patronage from the moneyed people. But some were very rich and some were very poor. And also Urdu actually came about through an amalgamation of many languages. For example, Braj Bhasha, Khadi Boli, this is North Indian Hindi. And then that combined with the Turkish and the Arabic and Persian of the masses, because the rulers promoted Persian, but the soldiers were talking in the language of the common man. And they used a lot of Turkish and Arabic. So actually, Urdu started off as a camp language because there was a lot of intermingling of soldiers from different communities, all fighting for the Mughals. So that's where this language actually sort of started. So it's not one language, it's a mixture of many languages. But the grammar and lexicography, that is identical to Hindi, though the script is different.
So did Shairi originate in India? Because in Turkey, the dervish, community, if you will, the singing dervishes or the dancing dervishes, they also sing similar.
Absolutely.
So where did it start?
So actually it came from Persia, because that's where the ruling class at that time used to look to. They never thought much of the other languages. Persian was there like Sanskrit. So they took all their ideas from there. And the same art form exists across the Middle East as well. It's just that Urdu Shairi uses Urdu. They have other such forms which are there as well. And they use Turkish or Persian or Arabic in those forms. So language changes, but the form remains similar. They also have Nazm, they also have Ghazals. So those forms have a shared heritage, really.
Thank you.
Not only Indian.
So Sunil, when did you start having this interest in Shero Shairi, and what was the trigger and the spark?
Actually, my dad used to know Urdu because, back in those days, before partition, Urdu was the language of instruction. So it had a fascination for me. And, we'd go on a walk down a bazaar and there'd be very few Arabic nameplates or outside shops. So he would read out the names and, bakeries and all those sorts of shops. So that fascination was there. I didn't want it to end with my dad. And the real trigger came during COVID times, actually, because you had more time than you were used to. So that's when I started learning the Urdu script. And there are very good online resources for people who are interested. There's Rekhta.org has Amozish, which is a great site for learning, very easy paced. So that actually you had more time, so one was able to then start reading it in the language in which it was written. The good part is that now you don't need to know the script to enjoy Shairi, because in online media and all, you have in English transliterated into English, romanized shares, you have in Hindi. So you can really enjoy all that. But the gap is vocabulary.
Right.
So that is where I felt that you can read in any language, any device you want. But it's good to have a handy guide so you can quickly refer to difficult words. So.
Excellent. No, I think that, translation of words which I've given along with each share, that makes it all the more enjoyable for a large number of people. So that was, a lot of hard work by you, but very useful for getting the message across and for the communication. 𝒂𝒃𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒓 mentions that, thank you, Sunil, great talk. Looking forward to my copy of the book, which Amazon says arrives tomorrow. So I look forward to receiving a lot more messages like that. In the meantime, Keshav Chopra has raised his hand. Over to you, Keshav ji. Unmute yourself. Yeah. Switch on
Yeah,
your
I did
video.
that. Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening. I don't know how I got this invitation, but the moment I saw Shaayari, and I right away jumped in, because late 1970s, I was in India, and like my father, he was very fond of Shaayari. And I was working for DCM Chemical Works over there in Delhi. So they are used to organize Shaayara once a year. And my father loved to go. So he used to take me, or I go with him. And we used to do the recording. At that time, there was tape recorder. So I used to do the recording of all the shires. And my dad will listen to that for like this whole year. And it was awesome. So he also used to tell me about the shires and Shaayari and details. It was very fun, you know.
Indeed. Would you like to recite any shares?
I
Keshav?
totally out of touch. I came to USA in the year 1989, and my father expired. So I miss my dad as well. And I was born in Pakistan, Rawalpindi, actually. And
Right.
my father had great touch of Urdu, you know. They were there. He was a doctor over there. And yeah, it was fun. So you reminded me, took me back like for 40, 50 years, I should say, ago. So it was fun joining you people.
Indeed, indeed. So fun. And Prashant, प्रशांत जी आपने हाथ ऊपर किया, आप अनम्यूट करके बात करें.
Yeah, so actually for people who didn't know Urdu script, the Hindi music or film industry really helped understand a lot of Urdu poetry, and that was the golden era in 60s, 70s, 80s, when a lot of shayars and supported by excellent music directors and singers popularized the art form. But these days what we find is that the focus on words and beautiful meaning words is gone in the music, and so that's a sort of one support which has would have made it continue to make it popular amongst people. Unfortunately, the lyrics of today are not which were there in 60s, 70s, 80s.
Right, right. No, that is true. It has changed a lot over the decades, and one misses the in-depth significance, meanings, and so much more sort of romanticism of that era. It has become quite different now, but I guess that is also part of evolution. We have 2 more hands which are raised. We are running out of time, or 3 more hands now I see. So we will go first with Ashok Batra ji. I see 4 hands now, but Ashok Batra, yes.
Yeah. मैं आज चोपड़ा साहब ने जिक्र किया कि उन्होंने उर्दू लैंग्वेज से कैसे उनका लगाव हुआ. मेरे वालिद भी पाकिस्तान से आए थे. वो हमेशा मुझे उर्दू की खबरें मिलाप से सुनाते थे. जो ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पे उर्दू की खबरें होती थी वो मुझे साथ बिठाकर सुनने के लिए मजबूर करते थे. और मेरी परवरिश जामा मस्जिद के इलाके में हुई है. वहाँ छोटे मोटे मुशायरे तो हर साल होते थे. फिर सबसे बड़ा मुशायरा और कवि सम्मेलन लाल किले में होता था, क्योंकि मेरे फादर फ्रीडम फाइटर थे. उनको वहाँ का इनवाइट आता तो वो मुझे साथ ले जाते थे. फिर यहाँ आने के बाद मैंने अलीगढ़ अलमनाई एसोसिएशन के हर साल मुशायरे में गया. तो एक साल मेरा बेटा कहता है कि आप कहाँ जा रहे हैं? ही इज बॉर्न एंड ब्रॉट अप हियर. मैंने कहा मैं मुशायरे में जा रहा हूँ. तो कहते हैं वही मुशायरा जिसमें या बावा करते हैं, तो मैं भी आपके साथ चलूंगा. So he was hardly about 10 years old. He accompanied me to that Aligarh Alumni Mushara, and he slept halfway through. I think that is exposure to the language and the neighborhood I lived really, invoked my interest in Urdu Shaayari.
Indeed, indeed. No, that a lot of us have had the experience of going to all these events, also to जो निजामुद्दीन औलिया के टूम के पास वो गजल वो जो कवाली वाले भी हैं, very famous. I've had the occasion from IIT Delhi to visit them on many occasions and also invite them abroad to Tanzania when I was working in the High Commission of India there. So you're right, those are permanent memories, indelible memories in our minds. रमेश शर्मा जी, आपने भी हाथ उठाया है, आप अपने दो अल्फाज बोलें अनम्यूट करके. You have to unmute yourself, रमेश शर्मा जी. Okay. हाँ जी बताएं.
मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ,
मैंने 1959 में BHU से मेटलर्जिकल इंजीनियरिंग की थी.
वाह, क्या बात है.
हाँ, और अभी मैं USA में हूँ. यहाँ पर 50 साल हो गए. तो जहां तक इसका कवि सम्मेलन और मुशायरे का सवाल है, जो चीज सबसे ज्यादा मुझको खटकती है कि हम लोगों का प्रोनाउंसिएशन बहुत भ्रष्ट हो गया है, हिंदी का भी और उर्दू का भी. ये इस पर कुछ लोगों को ध्यान देना चाहिए. और बाकी मुशायरा आपका मतलब स्लाइड प्रेजेंटेशन बहुत अच्छा था, बहुत अच्छा लगा. एक ही छोटा सा बशीर बद्र का एक छोटा सा शेर है कि उजाले अपनी यादों के हमारे साथ रहने दो, न जाने किस गली में जिंदगी की शाम हो जाए.
वाह, क्या बात है.
बस
क्या बात है, गजब.
बस, थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Kishan Goenka ji, last comment from you and then we move towards a winding.
Thank you, Ambassador. I just bring back the word Urdu. The word Urdu, I don't know how many of you know it, is from Turkish Ordu. And Ordu means military. And that is why this language was given the name Urdu, because it was spoken by the military, as Sunilji mentioned, right? So it is a mixture, as he mentioned, of all different languages. And that's how this language is. There's no formal education or something like that. It's just from the military language. And as you know, Babur was origin from Turkish, and that's why this word Urdu, his military was called in military. And that's all my submission. Thanks very much.
Very interesting. I never knew that. Over to you, Amitji. And Prashant Nevaskar also is looking as, helping Wheels as the coordinator for the Wheels chapter in Dallas. But thank you everybody for participation. Back to you, Amit.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ambassador Kapur. Your insightful and astute remarks, controlling the flow and moderating this question and answer is invaluable. It's always a pleasure and honor with working you, sir. Sunil, this was a mesmerizing session. It was an enthralling session. You walked with us through the streets of history.
Indeed.
Many shades and stories behind them gave us a new perspective. Shades reflect the lives of the Shaayar, and you told us why.
I would just like to add thank you to Suresh, because I had sort of launched the book and all that, and the idea of this session actually came from him. And I said, why not? So I must thank Suresh for thinking of this 2-3 months back, and for PANIIT, Amit and Tajan to sort of quickly agree to sort of use a common forum. So thanks a lot, Suresh, Tajan and Amit and all the rest of you. Of course, Ambassador's comments were really, as Amit said, to the point, astute and wonderful.
It has been a great learning experience. So thank you very much. We owe a big thank you to you and an applause for a wonderful, wonderful event.
Great listening to shares from others as well. Wonderful session.
Indeed, indeed.
Once again, I would like to thank Suresh Sunai for doing this. Thank you, Suresh.
Not at all, Amit. Thank you. Thanks for the book club.
And Amitabh Laturi, who is currently the chapter representative. Tajan, who is the co-founder of the book club along with me. Yagya for running this show. Fantastic job, Yagya. But most of all, I would like to thank these audience. These audience have kept this show, this thing alive. Once the session was opened, everybody just jumped in. Thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was just a pleasure working with this audience. With this, I would like to say shukriya and Khuda Hafiz, and thank you all. Stay safe and keep well. Thank you and good night to everybody.
Thank you and congratulations, Sunil.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Yagya.
So for those of you who are still there, our next event is going to be announced soon. It will be a session on mental health through yoga. So look out for details. We will get it out to you within the next week or 10 days. Thank you.
was very good. I felt like disturbing you in the middle. Just what the, even to say